Well, friends, Shabbat Shalom once again. It is great to be together on a night where we can sing, we can pray, and tonight also learn and empathize with another person's life story, which I have to share even at the outset how unfair it is to invite someone to share such a profound story in a brief way. But that is what we are going to invite our guests to do, is to share a story in a brief way, knowing that there will be other opportunities for learning, and you can certainly ask questions at our oneg. I am pleased to welcome Dr. Belaynesh Mekonen, who is completing her postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Minnesota, the College of Education and Human Development. She currently is on leave from the Ministry of Education in Israel as an educational supervisor of boarding schools. She got her PhD at Tel Aviv University in the multilingual educational program in the School of Education, and her master's thesis was examining the impact of the Ethiopian Jewish Heritage Program on cultural identity, acculturation attitudes, and academic and social adjustment among youth of Ethiopian origin in residential schools. What she is primarily going to share is her story of immigrating to Ethiopia to Israel with her family in 1991 at the age of 15. That is enough of the introduction for us to now welcome, and please, we're outside. Let's give her a round of welcome with a nice round of applause.
Wow. Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I am so happy to be here with you and experience a new and different Kabbalah Shabbat. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank God for bringing me to this place and reaching the position I wanted to reach. When I think deeply about my journey this year, I think about my family and how far I am from them. Even though I know it would be challenging, I didn't realize how difficult it could be. The culture, language, and the weather here is very different from my home in Israel. Wow. On the other hand, God allowed me to come to this community. I meet so many people full of love, care, and warm hugs. And I say to myself, what would I do without this? What would I do without these wonderful people in the community and wonderful people at the university? My name is Belaynesh Mekonen. I immigrated to Israel with my family in 1991 at the age of 15 in Operation Shlomo. Like any other immigrant, I had to overcome assimilation difficulties, language, and cultural differences. But now I am working at the Ministry of Education as an educational supervisor of boarding schools. I am married and a mother of 4 children. My 2 older children are soldiers in the Israel Defense Forces. My oldest daughter was a commander, Mefakedet, an education soldier in North Israel, and this April she finishes her service. Thank God. Yes, thank God. We need to say thank God. My son is an kosher supervisor in the Patriotic Army in the south of Israel. I am very proud of them. I have been working at the Ministry of Education for over 20 years as a teacher, as an educational consultant, and as the director of the Dropout Prevention Division. I also was a lecturer at David Yellin College in Jerusalem. As an educator, I work with social workers, psychologists, counselors, teachers, therapists, parents, students, and more. I am responsible for the inspection of 11 boarding schools. Our educational institutions have students from all over the country, from native Israelis to new immigrants from all over the world. We also have students from low socio-economic backgrounds. Recently, as Rabbi Adam said, I completed my PhD, in which I explored the interrelationship between mother tongue maintenance and emotional aspects along generations among immigrants from Ethiopia to Israel at Tel Aviv University. I chose to advance at the highest level in academia because I believe that only excellency and the acquisition of knowledge can lead to key positions and full integration into Israel society. Presently, I am here on a postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Minnesota College of Education and Human Development. I decided to do this away from home, and I crossed borders and continents to deepen my knowledge, broaden my horizons, and explore further research opportunities. I intend to acquire professional expertise and research tools to help me get an academic position in an institute of high standing upon my return to Israel. I am prepared to work hard and strenuously to fulfill my dream of becoming a faculty member in academia and developing a career in research and teaching alongside personal development and contribution to society. I believe I can be a role model for women in general and women from Ethiopia in particular who, with perseverance, hard work, and confidence in their abilities, will be able to reach out and fulfill themselves. When I told you about my achievements today, it is important for me to point out that the process was very difficult and challenging. Each of us has someone who guides us, directs us, and shows us the way in life. If you are asking who was for me, my father was my mentor by pointing the way for me in such a metaphorical and wise way. I didn't always understand what he meant, but he made me think and solve the puzzle on my own. I will describe to you 3 points that are etched in my memory, and I told about them at the graduation ceremony of PhD degree. Recipients, when I was chosen to be the representative who would speak on behalf of the 317 degree recipients from all the faculties. The first point was when I was a little girl, a primary school student in northern Ethiopia in Tigray district in the city of Shire. While going up towards the home, I met my father, who was then young and handsome. He greeted me with peace, stopped, looked at me, and said, "I will send you to your brothers and learn." At that time, I didn't understand this. And I wondered why he emphasized studies for me when he is in an environment and a culture where everyone is eagerly waiting for the young girls to get married. The second point was in 2008. I was then a master's student and in the process of writing my master's thesis. That year, we went on a road trip together with my parents and my older brother Mulu. At the end of the Passover holiday, a local singer who makes merry in houses, as is customary in Ethiopian culture, arrived and started singing. While doing so, he looks at me and asks, "Who is this girl?" My father was quick to answer him. This is Dr. Belaynesh. I realized that my father wanted this degree just as much I did. He didn't know how to direct me academically, but he knew how to point out a goal that suited me, which I would strive in one sentence. The third and the last point was in 2016. We selected 11 female students as inspiring from all the faculties. And I was chosen by my department as an outstanding student. I was among them to participate in a large conference in honor of International Women's Day, and I had the privilege of being one of the 3 who presented their research works. My father was chosen as the parents' representative and granted all the female students and all the guests in our mother tongue, Tigrinya, and I translated for him. Abba, I want to tell you that the shared dream has come true, and I am a true doctor, and I continue to the next level. I am nearing the end of my postdoctorate here at the University of Minnesota, and I am standing right now in front of an amazing and supportive Jewish community. Yehi zichrecha baruch. The immigration of Ethiopian Jews is one of the special immigrations that give their lives for their arrival in the Holy Land. When the customers thought it was the time set out, they decided to make the usual journey at night and faced abundance, hunger, thirst, and on the top that there were advanced pregnant women on the journey who give birth on the way. Babies were there, adults and young. They crossed on foot into uncharted areas and moved along countless difficult overland routes. The journey usually lasted about 3 to 5 weeks, but it could sometimes take 6 months, a year, or even several years, because they were often forced to go back dependently impaired. In one period, about 15 until 20 people died a day in the Omrakova camp. A certain girl tells how she held her baby sister's body in her hands for 4 days because she didn't know where to bury her. Here, too many members of the community got sick and died. In total, the community lost about a fifth of its sons and daughters, 4,000 people on the journey to Israel. Among the community who went on the journey was my grandfather, who was a great spiritual leader in the northern province of Tigray in Ethiopia. He was a teacher, a rabbi who married young couples, and an arbiter of laws. And in fact, he was also responsible for social life. When he set out on the journey, he was 82 years old. Yes, 82 years old. And he survived all the hardships on the way with God's blessing. After waiting in the refuge camp, he arrived to Israel. I will tell you one example of what my grandfather ruled in the refuge camp in Sudan. When the Jews arrived at the camp in Sudan, they were different from the other refuge people because they did not light a fire on Shabbat. The Mossad people were afraid that the operation would be discovered and come to my grandfather to ask for permission for the Jews in the camp to light a fire on Pikuach Nefesh Doche Shabbat. The discussion was long, and it took hours to convince my grandfather. After he listened attentively and heard all the young people, he said to them, "My children, we lived in exile for 2,500 years. When we keep the Shabbat keeps us. Under no circumstances will we light a fire. If God wills, my dear sons, we will meet in Jerusalem." The family wrote about my grandfather's work and leadership, and on the eve of the book's launch, one of the guys who met him in Sudan told this story. It was very exciting. The Ethiopian community observes Shabbat as it is, כמו שכתוב בתורה. Not singing, not pray together, just as they write in the Bible. To this day, some parents do not even use warmers on the Shabbat. They eat the food cold. Since the religious establishment know that my grandfather was coming to Israel and excited his safe arrival, they asked him, "Rabbi Yitzchak, what would you like to be given?" He answered them, "In exile, I lead the community in keeping the commandments and doing good deeds. Today, we have arrived in the land of our ancestors that was promised to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. What I am asking for is a place for my eternal rest." My grandfather passed away at the age of 96. And he burned on in Har Menochot in Jerusalem, near all the elders in 1995. In accordance with my grandfather's command, we give the Torah book as a gift to the National Library in Givat Ram in Jerusalem, so that all scholars who come from the world can use it. As he said, "Mitzion titze Torah, veletzion tachzor." Finally, my life is full of challenges, and at the same time, sparks of light within me, because I believe that only through education can we create a more beautiful, more accepting, more patient, and more diverse world in the inter-public space. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon that can be used to change the world. I sincerely hope that we will have more opportunities to get to know each other in deep and to share our personal and professional experiences in the future. Many thanks to Rabbi Adam and Shai for the opportunity to be with you here tonight. Thank you for listening. Shabbat Shalom.